Welcome to the Modern Sports Show, home of your college athlete, where we are player led and player focused. I'm your host, Corey. And guys, today, very unconventional in terms of me going live around this time. However, had the time, and so want to just today, let's just take a look at college football landscape and everything that is going on right now throughout the SEC, the Big Ten, and a few of the other conferences as well. If you haven't, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, share the video around. Let's continue to grow the brand. We'll give you authentic take, authentic insight, and many of the guys who we talk about, we've had on the show also. So go check those episodes out as well. Now, guys, today, right, as we sit here, Monday, October the 20th. This past weekend, it was a fairly interesting weekend in college football. You had Alabama beat Tennessee. Georgia, Ole Miss come on the road to Georgia, and Georgia got the win at home in that game. A few other shockers had Louisville beat Miami on Friday night, and a plethora of other games to go along with that. So, just in the grand scheme of things, before we're gonna look at some film today between Alabama and Tennessee. I really want to just kind of uh, run through some tape, see how Alabama got the win, and some things that Tennessee could have did better. And we know Tennessee is obviously 2-2 in the conference. Their two losses coming to Georgia and Alabama. And I would say for those quality of opponents, Tennessee, I think they still have an opportunity to slip into the playoffs depending on the way things may transpire in other conferences. Those are two very quality opponents. And so, it doesn't completely uh it doesn't completely leave them out of the playoff picture. However, like I said, things are going to have to kind of shape up to kind of help get them in as we get down the stretch in the season. So in this week 8, some games that stood out to me, like we said, Louisville upset number 2 Miami. That was a shocker. I didn't watch that game, but I did get the ESPN alerts. Vanderbilt holding off LSU at home. That wasn't a shocker in a sense because Diego Pavia provides a certain level of a certain level of confidence that I feel like, or swagger is a better word, that I feel like that Vanderbilt football team has kind of needed, like a resurgence over these past couple of seasons. And so I think Diego Pavia is the kind of player that is a coach's dream when you talk about rebuilding the program and trying to instill some level of competitiveness in that program. So Vanderbilt with the win at LSU. I watched bits and pieces of that game, but Vanderbilt is no fluke, right? They're no fluke. Only conference loss coming to Alabama. And even in that game, they showed very strong signs early to be able to win that game. But ultimately, we know Alabama has revamped since their loss to Florida State. And, they're just Alabama is starting to kind of ascend and get back to the one of those top places in college football. We had Georgia Tech hold off Duke. Oklahoma and South Carolina. I didn't get a chance to watch that game entirely, but I did see bits and pieces of it. I will say John Mateer with his return hasn't quite looked the same since he's come back. And I don't necessarily say that from a playmaking standpoint, more from the rhythmic of the offense, more from the routine and trying to get like I just feel like Oklahoma's offense hasn't really flown smoothly. It just hasn't been cohesive. It didn't have the same feel that it did, let's say, when Oklahoma played Michigan earlier in the season, or a couple of the other games that Oklahoma had. So that was something that stood out to me. Oklahoma, I believe, right now, just looking at the standings in the SEC, Oklahoma is, I think they're 7th. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They're 7th right now in the SEC. So only one loss in the conference. Okay, that coming to Texas. Obviously, the week before last weekend, Texas in the Red River rivalry. Uh, and so I think that Oklahoma team, they still obviously have a shot. It's just one of those things, man, where they're gonna have to kind of get back to their operations before John Mateer got hurt. So, and right now I'm just looking through the eight teams in the SEC right now are pretty much week in and week out still competing for a spot in the playoffs. This goes for all the people that don't believe, that still don't feel like the SEC is the strongest conference in college football. I don't understand. And granted, I'll say these past couple of years we've had some down years, uh, understandably so. However, when you think of depth from top to bottom, I don't understand how any other conference stacks up with what the SEC has to offer. And even in the days of Nick Saban and his dominant period at Alabama, like the SEC has always had strong teams. LSU's, the Floridas, Auburn's are a chippy team. The Georgias, the South Carolinas are chippy. Like from top to bottom, the SEC has been that conference for a while. So we need to get off our soapbox, stop acting like it isn't. Uh, just going back to some of these past games or some of these games this past weekend, Ohio State playing Wisconsin, beat them in a pretty easy fashion. Um, Ohio State right now, and to be honest, just looking at their schedule, take a look at who Ohio State has left. They have they have a bye week coming up this weekend. Week after next, they got Penn State. We know what that's going to be. Purdue, UCLA, Rutgers. They don't really run into a challenge until Michigan. Obviously, we know last year Ohio State dropped the game to Michigan, even with all the weapons that I feel like Ohio State in comparison to this year. So that game is going to be a good game. Michigan is on an upward trajectory. They're at 5-2 right now, and they're trending in a good direction. They're number 25 right now in the nation, and so I think that could be, you know, a game that has a lot of meaning, not just for rivalry purposes, but for playoff implications as well. So Ohio State, they're not really in any imminent danger. No threats really for them in the Big Ten. Oh, Georgia and Ole Miss this weekend. Georgia, they handle business, like I say, hold off Ole Miss. Uh, that Georgia team, right? They really, it's crazy, man. It's really crazy. It's like Alabama is Georgia's kryptonite if they were Superman. Like, because I mean, for the past couple of seasons, even dating back to Nick Saban's last season at Alabama as the head coach, I still feel like Georgia had a better team entirely than Alabama had. But it's just something about those Alabama boys that I don't know, man. It's hard to say. Like Alabama just has Georgia's number. This year, Georgia was my pick in that game. Alabama just, Alabama, like I said earlier, they're starting to ascend and really show how dominant they can be in the grand scheme of things. Texas A&M, they held off Arkansas to keep that top spot where they are sitting at number 4. Texas versus Kentucky. I think this game went into overtime, 1 or 2 overtimes. But that would have been a big win for Kentucky. That would have been a big win. However, I think we still see a lot of flaws in Arch Manning's game. Granted, I did not watch that game, but what I can say is in Texas's offense, if it hasn't been Arch Manning, it's been the offensive line. If it hasn't been the offensive line, it's been Arch Manning. So that is Texas, man. Texas right now, they're sitting ranked at 21. They're 5-2. and just games that they have coming up. They come to Mississippi State. That's next Saturday. Then they have Vanderbilt. That's going to be a good game. Vanderbilt on November the 1st. And I think they go to Vanderbilt, if I'm not mistaken. Excuse me. That's at DKR. So Vanderbilt travels to Texas. Then Texas has Georgia. That is going to be at Sanford Stadium in Athens. And then they got Texas A&M. So, I mean, realistically, from the teams that I think actually might favor well against this Texas team, Vanderbilt has a legit shot to beat Texas. I'm sure they're going to, right now, just looking at ESPN, that is insane to me. Looking at ESPN right now, according to ESPN Analytics, Vanderbilt or Texas is a 71.3% favorite against Vanderbilt. I don't know if I believe that. And then Texas versus Georgia. Georgia is a 58% favorite against Texas in this game on November the 15th. And then Texas A&M is going to be a 64% favorite against Texas on November the 28th. So, I mean, a lot of opportunity for teams in the SEC to continue to show that, you are who you say you are or you aren't. It's going to be a very good game. Some very good games to close out the year in all of the SEC. But just trying to see if anything else stands out. You got Missouri and Auburn. They win the double overtime. Missouri held off Auburn. And, of course, like we talked about and like we're going to talk about, Alabama versus Tennessee today. Alabama did a great job. And Tennessee had areas of opportunity. What we're going to do right now, though, is dive into those areas of opportunity. We're going to take our time today, kind of going and zipping through this film. Okay, how can I learn, right? How can I continue to expand my knowledge of football to give you all a better understanding of the game? Okay, how can you all expand your understanding of the game to give a better experience when actually watching and being a fanatic of the game, right? And so, with all that being said, guys, pulling out the glasses today, and let's get into some of this film. All right, guys. So, all right. So, to start the game off, right, of course, evenly matched. Tennessee, I thought Tennessee had a large area opportunity in the RPO game, just because we know that Kane Womack likes to do these four-man fronts, three-man fronts, and isolate outside backers or underneath defensive backs, and putting those guys over the number 2, over the number 3 receiver. I think Georgia did a very good job of that against. I think Tennessee did a very good job against Georgia in the RPO game, and with the tempo, and with tempo. I think number 18, cannot think of his name. He had a very good game. Very good game. James Smith, he's emerged as just one of those dogs for Alabama. Top guy right now. Plays with attitude, defends his position, defends his team's position. Think he's a asset to have in the trenches for Alabama. I think all night, for the most part, Tennessee did a good job at getting penetration. But Ty Simpson just being who Ty Simpson is, man. The one thing that we can say about Ty is that he keeps his eyes down the field. While, yes, he can run, I think he's very athletic and capable of running. The ball travels faster and farther than you can run, though. And so he just does a good job at escaping tackles or escaping tackle for losses, sacks, avoiding sacks in the pocket, keeping his feet under him, and then also finding guys across the middle of the field. His anticipation is second to none, and in my opinion, he is definitely earning Heisman talks right now, and not necessarily with his ooh and ah, but because week in and week out, he's leading his team to wins, and he's playing at a very efficient level. I mean, I've talked about this in the past, over the past couple of weeks. Something that I notice is when he's making a lot of pre-snap adjustments, a lot of um, checks and stuff like that. Granted, he does a good job at, pre-snap just analyzing the defense, right? Trying to understand where defenders are on the field to be able to make checks and do certain things. Uh, However, sometimes it may not be as fast as it needs to be for the operations, especially if you have motions and stuff like that. A lot of times he's like getting into his cadence at about 3-4 seconds. So, I think maybe breaking the huddle a little bit faster, getting to the line of scrimmage, seeing what we got so we can run motions or whatever else we might need to do. I think at the beginning of the season, first half of the season, they've been burning a lot of timeouts. Because of that, I think that's something that's gonna have to get better as as we continue to get deeper in the postseason, games get harder, or excuse me, get deeper in the season, head into the postseason as games get harder, things like that. Okay. All right. Down in distance, 2nd and 4. And as you can see, he's just gonna find this crease, find this seam in the defense. This guy here, Lottie Brooks, he's been doing a very good job at just becoming a reliable target, right? I think Isaiah Horton as well. He stepped up. Jeremy Bernard, for the most part, he's been leading the team. Of course, you got Ryan Williams, but Ryan, he's kind of struggled throughout the season. Had a great game against Tennessee. Looked very good against Tennessee. But these guys have just some names that through the first few games have flew under the radar. But now as we're getting deeper in the season, I think they're stepping up, becoming like, assets to this Alabama offense. Um, but Ty just does a good job pump faking this ball. Finding this B gap lane, rushing through. I think here he wanted to hit Jan Miller coming across here. But right, thinking of down and distance, we got this linebacker here just sitting on it. Chances are he makes this tackle in the 3rd and 4. Whereas Ty pumps fake, gets out of there, B gap exit, hits Lottie Brooks. A lot of people at first through the first, or I guess I ain't gonna lie, probably like 3 or 4 games into the season, a lot of people were saying he was very Jalen Waddle-esque. I didn't see it, but he made a few plays in the Missouri game. He's made a few plays. He made a few plays in this game against Tennessee where, okay, I can see where one might compare him to Jalen Waddle. In his condensed bunch. And just the way, and shout out to Ron right here, man. Shout out to Ron because, you know, me having been an athlete, there is a certain level of confidence that you can tell, you can sense that a player plays with, whether they're in a slump, whether they're playing well, right? Just the fluidity in their movements, how sure they are of themselves. Something that I noticed with Ron is, especially at the beginning of the season, a lot of his passes he was catching like this. Okay, he was catching them with his chest. And that just tells me that he wasn't very sure of his hands. Probably, he has some drops. And so, just naturally we're gonna catch the ball with our chest because we want to make sure that we secure it, right? But a lot of times we experience more drops, allowing the ball to hit us in our chest and giving it the opportunity to ricochet in other places. Um, but Ryan right here on this go ball, on this 9, right, does a great job at I don't know, he just does a great job at beating this DB off the line of scrimmage. Okay. He's gonna get a nice release, nice little 1-2. I think this DB, but he's here. He's gonna get out of there. I think this DB could have did a better job. Could have got hands on, right? Prevented all the dancing. Does a good job though, getting back in phase. Ryan's just gonna stack him. Yeah, Ryan's just gonna restack him. Does a good job at stacking him, making the catch with his hands. Okay, getting his eyes around, making the catch with his hands. So just getting the crowd excited. Man, like I've been to a couple of Alabama games, and I'll say that it's one of the most exciting places to watch a football game. I remember I was a recruit 2019 um, on an unofficial visit versus the Ole Miss um, versus Ole Miss came and played at Alabama, and I was there on a UV. And I remember it's crazy because I was a couple years out of high school by this point, or a year or so out of high school. And this is crazy, but uh, Kool-Aid he was still a high school recruit. Malachi Moore still a high school recruit. A couple other guys I can't remember, but they were on that visit with me as well. And it's just been to a lot of different schools, experienced quite a few atmospheres. I will say Alabama is second to none in my opinion. It's like an NFL stadium. Holds more than certain NFL stadiums as far as seating capacity. And so for me, man, it was just the opportunity to be able to just go and make plays in this kind of environment, man, you gotta consider yourself blessed and grateful. Good catch though. Look at how he secures that, man. Stays in bounds. Then we're gonna get this reverse end around. That was a great play design. Jeremy being the utility guy he is, of course, is in the equation for that. Now, I saw this trending on Twitter a couple days ago, or X, should I say? Everybody's saying, okay, who has the better zig route, right? Is it John Mechie in his 2021 quadruple overtime win, or Isaiah Horton here on the game's first touchdown? But yeah, runs a nice zig pivot route, puts his foot in the ground. DB loses when your eyes go in the backfield, right? Trust your eyes, play through the receiver's hands. But as a DB, soon as you take your eyes and you snap your head off your receiver, that double move is coming. Isaiah Horton, like I said though, just he stepped up for Alabama over these past couple games. Now I think okay, Yancey, I believe Yancey Pierre, and that's what I mean. Like this Alabama team has just had guys stepping up. Um, just defensively, offensively, I feel like they've raised the standard somewhat back to what Alabama football is known to be. I'm not gonna say it's all the way there, because if it is, or we'll know because if it is, here in January they'll be playing in the championship game. If not, we'll know that there's still room for growth. And if it's really there, like in the words of Ric Flair, if you're a real man, you never fail. You always stay up. But like Alabama, we'll know if it's all the way there if they actually win the championship. It was a good ball. I think in this game, Tennessee, from what I've seen, Tennessee didn't do a good enough job at getting Chris Braswell the ball. I think just going to look at the stats in this game, and it's not going to account for targets. Not going to account for targets, but what it will account for is catches and yards. And Chris Braswell, he went 7 for 66. Not too shabby at the same time, right? I don't think he had a touchdown in the game. But like, they went to him in the red zone. The one time they did, I think it was a PI. And so he's just a guy, man, over the course of the game, like, and I'm sure he got, the PI being included, he got other targets, plays that just weren't made, but he's just somebody that, especially in college, man, with his measurables, for his height, he's very fast, very quick, twitchy. You got to get him the ball, man. You got to find ways to get him the ball. Yeah. Going a little heavy set right here. 4th and 1, first down. I'll send this late pressure right here. Say Pierre though. Let's see, what are they doing right here? Okay. So they're gonna simulate some. Okay, they're really just sending a delayed blitz. He's coming in here. And this guy here, he's gonna buzz out to this flat or to this hook curl area. Yeah, he's gonna buzz to this strong curl. And St. Pierre's is coming up with another play, another sack. On 3rd down. Hit him back deep. Excuse me, guys. I had to work out this morning. So I'm just a little tired, but another great catch. I actually don't think they ruled this a catch, if I'm not mistaken. I think they did. Okay, well, never mind. They did. It was just, I know they went back and reviewed this play. Mm. Okay. So here we got this 4-man look. 4-man front, excuse me. 4-man front. Man here. Man here. He's going to have back out. We got a plus. We got here. And a man plus defender on the running back. Or, excuse me, linebacker. Quarterback. What am I saying? So they sent some pressure pretty late. But just look at this pocket though. You got a free defender. He's coming off here. Um, pre-snap. Pre-snap. He started at the second level, I believe. Yep. Pre-snap, he's gonna start here at this second level. This guy's gonna crash inside. Nah, this guy's actually just gonna get beat. Okay, so he got chipped. It was just a miscommunication with the tight end and his tackle. Tackle chipped him, but tackle chipped this guy here, or excuse me, tight end chipped this guy. But when tackle seen this here, he had to get his eyes back around. Tight end has to get on him whatever route he's running. He's gonna take this inside X or this inside inner entrance. Looks like running back here is gonna have them. He's coming for a twist game there, and we're blitzing there as well. That's why it's hard to to play offensive line. Yeah, that's right there. Sorry, guys. Let me turn my screen brightness up. So this guy's actually he has blitz and integrity, but he's actually gonna pick up that tight end. So got a rush here. We got a blitz here. This guy here is queuing tight end there. And they did a good job. The pressure did a good job getting home. I think if he held this ball 2 or 3 seconds sooner, right, the pressure gets there. But Ryan Williams, he just creates just enough separation for Ty Simpson to zip that ball on his upfield shoulder. And Ryan Williams is gonna lay out, make a play. That's a great catch. Now I think that was an area of opportunity. I mean, granted, um, Tennessee they did a great job running the ball. Number 18, I think his last name is Staley or something like that. Did a great job running the football. At the same time, you have to be able to have a rhythm and passing game too. And Tennessee, I feel like they could have taken more advantage of Alabama's secondary, especially the outsides, because I know there were some rotations and some weaknesses that other teams have exploited. Um, but yeah, like plays like this, man, plays like this, keep you in the game. So big red zone, stop right there. Let's look at this. Okay. So Alabama is gonna have this bare front. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. when I was watching the game in real time, I'm like, man, get your eyes up. Get your eyes up. Got this guy right here wide open. Wide open. And as you can see, he's trying to get over here late. Um, Colorado transfer Hill Green. He does a good job. Let's see what he does though. So he's right here in this, right here in that. Well, I want to say he's in a 5 technique outside that offensive tackle. Or is he in a 4-eye? Yep. So he's gonna be in that 5 technique, just outside this offensive tackle. All he's gonna do, play his keys. He has dive. Look like he has dive responsibilities. I'm not gonna say the dive man because I mean, but he just does a good job tracking the ball, running down the line of scrimmage, making that play from behind. Man, this is great from Alabama defense. So I think the read comes in late for Joey Aguilar here. Okay. I think as soon as like now, throw him the ball. Now he has to be getting the ball now. They're gonna run this mesh concept. So all right, so they're gonna run this mesh. Okay. Coming here, working himself across. He's trying to work himself across there. This tight end, should I say he's coming with the late release? And as soon as Kitselman clears, that ball has to be coming like right now. Now. Like now. At the very latest. It has to be coming right now. Because if he hits him there, he's walking into the end zone. But that slight hesitation, he sees a defender on this shoulder here, off a couple yards, worried that maybe if he misplaces that ball, you know, that's an interception. Um, and so he elects to keep it and run this one, try to get a couple yards with his feet, which he does. But they stone him. Not much out of that. All right, what do we have here? Ooh. Oh, excuse me. We're in the strong right formation. Strong right formation, condensed splits. So our number 1 receiver, 2, 3, 4 strong to the field. What can we expect to come out of this look? Back in the end zone. Great catch, pitch and catch with his receiver right there. I think biggest turning point of this game, okay? Biggest turning point in this game is going to be right here, okay? Tie ball game. Makes it score 9-7. Yancey Pierre just does a good job Getting speed to power right here on his rush. He's going to push this offensive tackle into the lap or literally onto the feet of Joey Aguilar, where he trips up, gets a hand on him. I'm sure they're going to credit him to tackle too. Thankfully, the play was just a safety. They gave him intentional grounding, and it was just a safety. Could have been a touchdown. Had they not called intentional grounding. But yeah. Yonsei Pierre, he gonna line up in this wide nine. Okay, then just speed to power. This guy. Speed to power. Gonna get a one-hand stab. Create that collision. Look at that. That's just pure power and strength right there. Great train. Great train. Ty Simpson, man, he does a great job of just finding guys across the middle of the field, man. Ugh. Jeremy Bernard having a great season this year. He cashing in. First round draft pick goes. Another great ball, man. Another great ball. So they're going to run this switch. Lottie does a good job, man. Making sure he stays in bound to catch that ball. Having some spatial awareness. Hands again by Ron Williams. Hands again. Sorry, guys. Maybe I should scoot closer. Jan Miller to go up 2 possessions right now in this game. This is really what we're talking about, where the tide is starting to turn.